Oh, Casper, we haven't had anything to eat since that amazing little Thai place back in the Sea of Galilee.
Oh, those appetizers were to die for, and I'll never forget those divine drinks with the cute little umbrellas.
We've been on the road for days, and if I never see another camel again, it'll be too soon. Oh, my itching backside. Balthazar, what are we looking for again?
A spiritual home.
A community of people seeking truth and beauty in life.
Right now, I'd settle for any place that doesn't smell of camel.
Say, Melchior, why are we following that star?
Have you forgotten the shepherd we saw last night? He said if we followed the star, we'd meet an angel.
Say, what's that? Up ahead. There's our angel.
It's a lovely stained glass window. A beautiful work. Could it be a Tiffany?
There's a big sign, too. Let's see. It says, Black Lives Matter.
Oh, and underneath it says Unitarian Meeting House.
And look, there's a falafel shop next door. Let's stop here. Meanwhile, we can check out this meeting house thing on the web without your phone.
Wow, these Unitarians, they have a great website. And look at all the good stuff they're doing.
Oh, there's a Reproductive Justice Committee.
And the Green Sanctuary Committee is doing great work on climate change.
My kids would love RE.
Hey, look, it's Sunday morning, and it's 10:30. Let's go inside and see what's going on.
Sure. This is just the thing we've been looking for.
What a great organization. How can we help?
I know. I've got my MasterCard right here.
And I've got my checkbook. Can I borrow your pen?
And here's the gold. I knew I'd put it somewhere. Always comes in handy.
Oh, this stuff comes in handy all the time.
We three kings have found a great home. We travel far, no more do we roam. Friends and singing, charms are ringing, building community. Children running round, choirs singing, joyful sound. Sunday service, Wednesday breakfast, such a treasure we have found. Cheering gifts we bring at our home. 'Tis the place we surely are sold. Opening checkbooks, hosting breakfast, building community. Always children running round, making joyful sound. Sunday service, Wednesday breakfast, such a treasure we have found. Pleasure's fun, it hurts not a bit. Donate money after sock split. We are sharing, we are caring, building community. Our children run round, lions and sound. I'm shepherding with our cares, such a treasure we have found. Such a treasure we have found.
Thank yous are the kings and the camel. How do you follow that? I mean, what do you do next, you know? I'm not going to sing. So, thanks for hanging around today. We'll talk a little bit about finances. I'm John Gerber, one of the co-presidents of the UUSA. And Eric Murphy, our treasurer, and I are going to just lay out a picture of where we're at currently. And we'll get this up on the web, on the screen. I hope you took a look at the web page. We sent it out by email and newsletter and announcements, and it kind of outlines in detail the current picture of our finances. We just want to review it very quickly today. I'm going to talk about the current situation, and Eric's going to talk about next year. This is part of our process. This is the beginning of a process. It's the first step. Ends next slide. Ends in June with a vote of the congregation. So we're not anywhere near making decisions, but we're trying to understand what the picture looks like currently. Can I have the next slide? So that's our plan. We got 4 months to figure this out, and in April and May we'll have more congregational meetings. I guess in early May to talk in detail about what it looks like. So we just wanted to share with you a little earlier than in previous years as Rachel said, to be transparent and clear about what the situation is. Next slide, please. So the good news is we look like we have a balanced budget this year, which is not always certain, but thanks to the winter appeal, we're doing quite well. On the left, the column on the left was our proposed budget back in June. You all voted on, and we suggested we could raise $200,000 through pledges, and we did. Most of that's in by now. We looked at the plate, the rental, and the fundraising, and we estimated a little high based on pre-COVID conditions. We were kind of hoping we could come back full swing sooner than we did. It took a little while to get to bring the congregation back and to begin the rentals to come back. Somewhere around November, December, it became pretty clear that we weren't going to hit those high targets. They were ambitious, and we instituted the winter appeal as a fundraiser to make up the difference, and we did. And as Reverend Rachel said, that was amazing. We said, this is the situation, folks. We need help, and you came forward. So we were shooting for 273. Pretty clear. We got 273, and we're doing pretty well. So our income looks strong. Can I have the next slide? And then we look at where does all that money go, and notice that we brought in 273. We're going to spend around 273. We don't even know exactly. We've got a few months to go, but most of our expenses are in salary and benefits. The music, the RE program, it's almost all salary. The office operations is salary and a computer and telephones. Housekeeping is to keep this beautiful place going and looking good. Donation and dues goes to the UUA. We did not make our recommended contribution to the UUA. We really valued their help, but we just didn't think we could do it this last year, and so we didn't quite make their recommendation. So we cut a little bit there on donation and dues. Financial expenses is just insurance. These are things we have to pay for. Program expenses we cut drastically. The major part of program expenses is the DO, and that's in and out. We take it in, we give it away. So the other expenses and program would be like the Wednesday breakfast and a few other small things. We really cut program significantly, and I think that's a concern I have. Minister's compensation and payroll, these are things that are fixed. And so we've got a really bare bones budget. And the good news is we're still here. We're still standing. We're vibrant. We're vital. We've got amazing services. We've got amazing music. We've got a vibrant RE program, and we're here. So we're standing, and we should feel pretty good about making it through yet another year. And so I'm going to hold questions until the end. We're going to ask Eric to talk about this next year. Then we'll have questions, and then we'll go eat.
All right. Well, first let me say, First, let me say a couple of words like how we kind of put the budget together. We kind of use a bottom-up approach, and we put out a request to the program directors and the different committees and ask them to think about what they might be looking for funding for their particular program or their committee. And that information, comes in, gets put together, and becomes part of our budget. And then we talk about compensation levels, and we do that in the context of UUA fair compensation guidelines. And UUA has just completely revised the way they put together UU compensation guidelines. And so we had a discussion around that, and we settled on how we could bring our staff's salary more in line with those guidelines, which currently right now we are below those guidelines. Then we take all that information, and that is what gets us to our expense budget here. And as John mentioned, he went through the different line items. Most of the budget is salaries, probably close to 70%, and then meeting the cost of keeping this place maintained is about probably another 10%, and then the administrative costs of actually running the operations is probably, I think, in the line another 7% exclusive of salary, so just other costs. And then we have the UUA dues, which is probably another 4 or 5%, and we're actually paying a little bit below what we would have been paying based on how UUA compensated what we would be a suggested donation from us. And I think we're a couple of thousand below what they had requested. So that's how we come up with our expected expenses for the upcoming fiscal year 2024. And it's probably about $12,000 higher than it was for the fiscal year we're currently in. And that is primarily salaries, which as a board, in getting us closer to the UUA guidelines, we settled on kind of a minimum cost of living allowance adjustment of 8%. And that is still below where the EU guidelines are, but we wanted to get move us in the right direction, and that's a step forward in that direction. If we could switch to the next slide. So this is the preliminary budget for income, and the thing to note is the pledge income. So that's a flat amount from what we raised as a congregation last year, exclusive of a special matching pledge that one of the members of our congregation put forth last year. And that's uncertain for this year, so we're preparing the budget without it. And so that is just level funding. And as you'll note, the revenue here totals up to $246,000. Our expenses on the previous slide totaled up to $285,000. So we are, based on level funding with pledges from the general congregation and the other sources of revenue, including rental income, which is, we're projecting it to be, down $6,000 from what we had previously budgeted in for this fiscal year. So with that, we have assuming level pledge funding, we would be have a shortfall of about between $39,000 and $40,000, and that is the gap that we hope to make up as much as possible through the pledge drive. And, we'll see, how we do with that, and then we'll make adjustments accordingly once, we get a clear picture of where the numbers come in.
Can we have the next slide? Fran Plummer says if we're not there at 12:30, Eric and I are in a lot of trouble, so we're going to be out of here. I just wanted to remind you of this, the new way of looking at giving. In the past, we've talked about how much we need. This new way of giving asks, what feels right for you, with given your current situation. And it's a series of suggestions. I really like that. It's new, we're trying it, and it's very colorful. And the next slide. Next slide, please. Just as a reminder, it's all on your webpage. What we're talking about here today in much more detail is on the webpage. If you go to Member Resources and down to UUSA Finances, you get the report, and you get the PRISM document, and you can see exactly where we are. Finances are rough, they're tough to talk about. If we think about them as an expression of our core values, what do we really care about, and where we're investing our money, and look at our budget, you can see what we care about. We care about our minister and our staff, making sure they're fairly compensated. We care about our meeting house and making sure it's beautiful and maintained. We care about each other and being together in relationship, as Rachel talks about. And we care about a larger community through our dedicated offering. These are the things we care about. And so, for me, it's a cost, but it's also an investment in the kind of world that I want to live in. And so that's where, that's what I ask you to think about. I want to close with my new favorite prayer from Joseph Cherry that Naomi Yanis told me about. If we have any hope of transforming the world and changing ourselves, we must be bold enough to step into our discomfort, brave enough to be clumsy there, loving enough to forgive ourselves and others. May we, as a people of faith, be granted the strength to be so bold, so brave, and so loving. Amen. Thank you. Let's eat!